Okay, I'm gonna explain my personal paper for this final report. This final report is all about the Gender Act. I wanna evaluation this policy about the gender and the race inequality. And so because this Pendleton Act is started to make the merit system starting to evolution, and so that's why I want to evaluate this. And this is and because Pendleton Act is not complicated to protect the minorities or the women in their working rights, so that's why I want. So this one left this problem day by day until now. And so even through the time passing, and so the people like to make a lot of the improvement to this, but generally the women and the minorities still facing the inequality in their daily life, and especially when they are facing the promotion and the personal advancement, they will feel that they got the inequality treatment because they are women or they are not white or like that. So first I want to say that we will review the history of the whole thing. So the first is the Pendleton Act. We know that prior to 1800 years, the Pendleton Act starting to eliminate the bully system, a spoil system to give the every one the equally way to get into the jobs. So the Pendleton Act created the exam, totally fairness exam, and the Pendleton Act prohibited that the donations from the campaign so that will cut the influence from the political power to the people. So we can see the Pendleton Act always is very about the selection. So this thing is only protected when you get into the places. So when you get into there, you got protection. But what will happen after? There's nothing. So the Pendleton Act didn't fully protect everything. So after that, Carter's reform, he did the CSRA to improve the Pendleton Act, but still not protect the after child for the whole things. So that's why the Pendleton Act and the Carter's reform still makes the inequality for the women and minorities still adhere. Then to the modern time, like the ASPA code, the ISMA code, such things will help the ethic problems, but I think there's still not improvement enough to help the people because the network is always influence everything. So now we will introduce the network theory. What is the network theory? The network theory is that everybody connect with everyone, and so that's why connections is a very important thing for everyone. So if you know somebody and he can give you some profit and you give back them, and you guys make a small network structure. So the structure is a lot of people into there and they share the same profit, the same aim, but they will working for it to earn their own profit. So they work for their self, and in the same time they working to complicate a whole aims. So the theory suggests that this structure give a culture there. So for example, if there's an Asian and there's a white join the same department, and the department is 70% white, what will happen is that this white guy can easily to find his teammates up there, and he can join inside there because they have already established a network structure in that department. And these departments became a culture barriers. So these barriers will kick off the Asian or any other people besides, and so they will control the power in that department. So these things cannot be protected by the Patent Act, because the Patent Act only gives the same way to them to enter the department, not protect their work after they enter there. So let's see the other ways through the APGAR to this policy. The first is the agenda. Agenda said that this is about, if the Patent Act is about the entire public and its political department especially, and they are middle urgent to change it, because it's not very urgent that the public will say this is very wrong, we will become a rebellion or some revolution like that, but it still have a problem need to do. And the other things is that the problem is the gender and race inequality is easily, and the other problem is also the protection. So protection is not extended to cover the whole things, it's only cover the selection, not the after selection part. So the goal is to reduce the inequality and give the protection to the problem. So we extend the protection. So the alternative way is that we need to make a legislation, culture, unions, and to protections. So these three things is basically connected by the goal. And the implementation plan is that we should first make the legislation to protect the after part of those workers. That is the culture things. We need to help. Culture is connected with the union, so we help the women and minorities build their own unions to make a stable network structure to become a culture. So this culture will help to protect the women and minorities. And finally, those things will make the protections happen. So that's all the things. But there's also the limitation for these things I cannot solve. So first thing is the culture thinking is beneath in the people's mind. So it cannot be manipulated by people like do some surgery or something. So you will face the resistance by those main groups. And it takes a very long time to build this culture through the education to your child, to the entire society's acceptance. And that is the basic limitation that this culture and thinking cannot be going through this. And the other things is that people's mind and it cannot change immediately. And just like the Donald Trump, he usually said that China is bad, and the people's mind cannot change the day at the same day. And because it took a very long time, so this problem was still preserved in these places very long time. So because this cultural barrier is invisible, so you cannot say that you're right or you're wrong to them. So it will need the further, like the future research or future policy to improve it. I believe in the future that day by day thing changing, this thing will going to change up. Thank you very much. That's my presentation.